It's time to explore the world according to Glenn. I'm Kevin Jacobsen. Glenn Close is my favorite actress, and this show is all about exploring the career of one of the finest actors of her generation. Each episode, I'll be joined by a guest as we dive into one of Glenn's movies, TV shows, or stage productions, going chronologically through her career, discussing her performance, and assessing the project itself. And today, we're talking Glenn's performance in the children's book adaptation, The Great Gilly Hopkins.
Time nominee Glenn Close, motherfuckers.
My guest today is returning to the podcast for the first time since joining me for this show's very second episode on The Big Chill, writer and podcaster at InSession Film. Welcome back, the great Amy Thomasson.
Thank you so much. This is such a pleasure.
Yes, I am so excited to talk about this very interesting movie that I feel like has not really gotten discussed very much in the past 10 years since it has come out.
Agreed.
But, yes, before we talk Glenn in The Great Gilly Hopkins, you told me on your first episode your relationship to Glenn Close. You love her, you worship her, you know, you're in fine company here. But now I'm going to ask you to get a little creative and put on your casting director cap, if that's a thing. So, Amy, if you could cast Glenn in any film, you have full creative control, what would that film and role be and why?
I think she would be amazing, and I know there's already been a remake of The Manchurian Candidate.
Whoa, okay, I'm interested.
As Mrs. John Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be so chilling. And she would slay.
Mm-hmm.
She would slay. I love when she plays those nice on the outside, frosty on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the layers. Very interesting you say that after, of course, Meryl played her as well, who she was often in competition with for many roles. I think Glenn would have been great in, the 2004 remake that Meryl starred in. But yeah, I agree. She probably would have been even better.
With all due respect to Meryl, I think absolutely. And I think she would have gotten yet another nomination.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that. Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love when she gets to be, like you said, kind of normal, sweet a little bit and just like very respectable on the outside, but then just underneath it's just chilling. So
she does, again, women who are kind of holding it together.
Yes.
Very, very well. She and Cate Blanchett, those are my favorite, when they're both really trying to hold it together, and then finally they just have one scene where they can just deliver it.
Unleash.
I love it.
Yeah.
Unleash. That monologue that she would give to the son about, we'll make like martial law look like something. I think she could totally do that, and it would be like delicious and amazing.
Delicious. Yes. Wow. Excellent. Well done. I would love to see that, or any kind of role like that, honestly. It doesn't have to be specifically
Hollywood.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today, which is The Great Gilly Hopkins. So this began as a novel written by Katherine Paterson, who is most famous for also writing Bridge to Terabithia, a beloved classic. So Great Gilly Hopkins was released in 1978, and it tells the story of a very precocious teenage girl who has a major attitude problem, largely stemming from not knowing her birth mother and being moved from foster home to foster home, eventually landing on the doorstep of Mamie Trotter, who treats her with kindness that doesn't often go reciprocated. And there's a sort of custody battle when Gilly's grandmother re-enters the picture and wishes to take care of her instead. So Patterson said that she wrote this book to channel her own guilt over mishandling of a pair of Cambodian children that she was fostering. So she kind of channeled it in that way. This was a National Book Award winner and it was adapted to a made-for-TV movie in 1981 as well. Then it was adapted to the stage for a theatrical production in 1996, and now this film comes in 2015, almost 40 years after the original book's publication. The script was written by Katherine Paterson's son, David L. Paterson, who also had previously adapted Bridge to Terabithia into the 2007 movie. So, no, not great. But the idea there was to sort of make sure that his mother's writing and style were preserved and not Hollywoodized too much, quote unquote. So for casting, Sophie Nélisse took on the lead role of Gilly Hopkins, having recently proved she could carry a film with The Book Thief. There wasn't a ton I could find on Glenn's casting specifically, but it likely comes down to prior relationships because the film was handled by West End Films, which had distributed Albert Nobbs previously, so there was a strong relationship there. And Glenn said she responded to the story because, as she said in an interview, young adults who read this kind of literature, they deserve great writing, they deserve great characters, they deserve ideas that might make them think about different things. They shouldn't be pandered to. It's all about what great literature is. It enriches your life.
Glenn.
I feel like that speaks directly to how you feel as well.
Glenn, I'm practically crying over here.
I know. Yeah.
And I will also say I have to give a personal shout out to Katherine Paterson.
Mm-hmm.
People are not writing books like this anymore.
Yeah.
People aren't writing books like Judy Blume wrote.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
Great
and as an ELA teacher, everything is very dystopian, vampires, about super, super rich kids and their issues. And are they readable? Yes, that's great. I'm not dumping on any of those. There's very actual realism in young adult and children's literature anymore. And it's sad because those books meant so much to us as kids, as tweens, as teenagers. And it's just stuff about friendship. Like I said, Judy Blume and Katherine Paterson, man.
Totally.
The book, I had an English teacher, Mrs. Malik, 3rd grade, who read us Bridge to Terabithia. That book gutted me.
Yeah.
That book is a core memory of my childhood. I made it about 10 minutes into the movie and I had to turn it off.
Wow.
Because the dad was so like warm and nice to Jess. And I was like, they didn't read the book. The entire relationship of the boy with his father is that his father was very, very cold, did not want his son to do art because he didn't think it was very masculine, which you don't realize as much when you're young and you read it, but you read it as an adult and you're like, oh, that's why the dad had such a problem with it. But in the book, he's like, hey, buddy, did you draw any pictures? I was like, no.
Which just makes no sense that like her own son, like I said, adapted that. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. But
it is a whole other topic.
So the movie follows Gilly Hopkins, whose full name is Galadriel Hopkins. As she struggles to acclimate to her new foster family, she meets Mamie Trotter, played by Kathy Bates, a warm-hearted woman who tries to be kind to Gilly even when Gilly is rather nasty to her in return. She meets her foster brother, W.E., played by Zachary Hernandez, who has trouble coming out of his shell, and she kind of alternates between picking on him and also standing up to his bullies. There's also their blind older neighbor, Mr. Randolph, Bill Cobbs, who often comes over to have Gilly read to him. So Gilly also gets in trouble at school frequently, squabbling with her teacher, Miss Harris, played by Octavia Spencer. What a stacked cast. And
really?
Right? All of this leads to her seeking out the address of her birth family and writing to her mother, Courtney, Julia Stiles, who has always been absent from her life, lying about how horrible the conditions are at her foster home in the hope of having her come get her. But Courtney is no longer living there, so the letter goes to Courtney's mother. Gilly's grandmother, Noni, is played by Glenn Close, who arrives and tries to get her to live with her. But things are complicated now because she's sort of adjusted to life with Trotter and the new family. So that's kind of the gist of it. Amy, did you have any familiarity with the Great Gilly Hopkins before this? And what are your brief overall impressions of the film and on Glenn's performance?
I have never read the book, which is weird because it's totally something I absolutely should have read.
It's so up your alley. Yeah.
It totally is. It's one of those, like, I've also never read The Wrinkle in Time. Just
Oh.
certain books where I'm like, how did I miss these?
Yeah.
But the one thing I remember is I remember the cover of the book with the girl blowing the big bubble, and then on the back the bubbles like popped and it's all over her face. Like that's another core
Yeah.
memory
Yeah.
from
Which
the
they do
book.
a few times in this movie.
Yes,
Imagery.
which I
Yeah.
appreciated. I was like,
hmm
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Little Easter eggs for us literary nerds.
Right.
So I read the summary of the book because I wanted to
hmm
just know like what did they change. And they changed the ending a bit,
hmm
which was interesting. I don't know if I want to spoil it for anybody, but the ending of the book sounds a little more uncertain where she's basically on the phone like I want to come home to
We can talk about that more at the
try.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's but I thought she was very relatable, and I didn't even know that this was a movie.
Yeah.
Never was aware that this had even come out.
Nope. Me
And I
neither,
think,
honestly.
yeah, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe it was like a TV movie because again, I'd not heard of it at all. But as soon as I put it on, I messaged you, was like, wait a minute, Kathy Bates is in this?
I know.
And then I saw Octavia and I was like, wait, what? What are we doing here? But I think one of the reasons why it probably wasn't bigger than it was is that people aren't reading the book anymore, which is very sad.
Yeah.
Very, very sad. Because in schools, they're reading much more modern. They're reading Holes, which isn't, I mean, by now it's not really a new book, but since I started teaching, but they're not reading these young adult books that were written in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And they updated it. I'm guessing maybe the original, maybe more people saw it. I never even knew it was an original movie. You know, like
I didn't either. This is all new
what?
information that I learned while researching. I know.
When did all of this happen and how did I
Yeah.
miss it?
I know.
But I mean, The Outsiders, I think schools are still reading The Outsiders, but there's the musical and all that.
Right.
But this is just, it's such a gem and it's such a great story. And the older that I get, and I have friends who have fostered children and I have friends who've adopted children. And as a teacher, I know social workers and the Department of Social Services and all of that, and how serious it is, and how nowadays it is sad that there's really not a lot of books about that for regular, I don't want to say regular, more traditional homes and families to learn about those things. And what Glenn said is true, that those are the books that teach you empathy and to understand what's going on in other people's lives.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I also think personally the movie leaves a bit to be desired, to be honest, in terms of really translating the feeling and the warmth or the complicated feelings, I think. Like I do think it sort of skims the surface on a lot of the ideas that are presented in the book, which granted I have not read or, didn't. It kind of passed me by as well, but I don't know. I sort of went into this not knowing exactly how this was going to be handled. I mean, I felt like the performances are very good for the most part. I think the story itself really, though, is kind of the juice in terms of like this very interesting take on a coming of age story where the main character is truly like a brat a lot of the time and sort of difficult to sympathize with at times. And I admire that we don't try to like compromise her too much to like tone her down or suddenly to make her a nice person. Like I think that shift that she takes over the story to become a slightly more stable, slightly more toned down version of herself does feel very well drawn. And Sophie Nélisse, I think, plays it very realistically. But I felt like at the same time, I don't know if this was your experience, I felt like the writing is so faithful in many ways to the material that it kind of feels outdated at times in its feel. Like it does feel like a story from decades ago that has kind of been transported to modern times, but not fully tweaked in a way to make it truly feel modern, which is sometimes in good way because it's like a timeless story feeling. But in other ways, it just feels like I'm not sure if today's kids will respond as well to this kind of story in 2015. You know what I'm saying?
Which is unusual because the more I teach, the more I have students that are in foster care and things like that. So
true.
It's out there. Maybe what I'm assuming just because I've read her books, I can imagine the book is probably a lot darker
Yeah, I
than the
think so.
movie. This seems
Yeah.
very much like a family movie that you can bring all the
Yes.
kids to. So you don't really want to get into some of those darker issues like they did with Bridge to Terabithia. Bridge to Terabithia is not just about friends, it's about his family and
Yeah.
his awful sisters and his relationship. It's all of the things
Yeah.
that you don't always pick up on until you're older. But it seemed very Disney, like a
Yeah.
teen Disney movie, like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid almost.
Yeah, honestly. Like there's this whole subplot of tackling like her racism that is prevalent, which is kind of a fascinating subplot within this, but also doesn't really feel as fleshed out in the end. It sort of feels like this was part of the book, but then in movie form it doesn't really figure into much, weirdly.
And because of the time of it.
Yeah. Because
Because
of the time of it. Yeah.
exactly, where maybe had they had it actually take place in the 70s,
This was my thing. Yeah.
that would have been a lot more effective.
Right.
But if you're trying to get if you're trying to get the people that are going to see Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you're getting the kids who are trying to see, who are watching Holes, who are watching that, they're going to be like, oh, it's the set. Like, they're not going to get it. But
True. Yeah.
there's a lot of darkness in her novels, like the racism. And she's not this charming little moppet.
Right.
Because you think
Exactly.
of precocious orphans and they're plucky and strong. It's like, no, she's terrible a lot of the time. And I feel
Yeah.
like they didn't, probably a lot nicer in the movie than in, she just kind of seems like a little bit of like a petulant teenager. But now it's like,
Yes.
there's probably some massive trauma going on there. And
Yeah.
if they had pushed it, probably less people would have seen it. Complicated.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're
Because I
saying.
know the audience that they're going for, but the audience
Yeah.
that would appreciate it is a different.
Yeah, it's really tricky.
Probably
I think,
people, adults our age who,
yeah,
excuse me, my age. You're significantly younger than I am, but who read it as kids in the 80s.
yeah, exactly. Because I think there's very clear good intentions and all involved here. It's not like an offensive movie by any
No.
means, but it is tackling a lot of touchy subjects. But I look at something like the adaptation a few years ago of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Speaking of Judy Blume, which also happens to star Kathy Bates. But that takes place in the 70s and I think has a much surer hand in its storytelling and rings very true in its intentions there. And that's kind of why I'm like, I sort of wish it was a period piece, even if it is not always going to appeal as much to kids today. I just feel like there's something that would have rang more true if it was just set in 1978, you know? Because there's still
Exactly.
timeless lessons. It just would have felt more authentic, I think, perhaps, for me.
And that's the hard thing about that kind of literature and those kinds of films not being as interesting as, and I feel almost nowadays there's such a shift to fantasy and not fantasy, but like I said, like super like the Click series and Gossip Girl and all that, where it's the ultra rich and they don't have a care in the world, or Twilight or Hunger Games or something, which you know what I mean. I mean, you could say arguably there's parallels to real life and all that stuff, but not a girl getting her period.
Not realistic.
And what is that like for the first time? Or a girl kissing a boy for the first time, and how that's so, because now it's so like these kids in these books have all, they're super confident and all this. And it's like, they don't really show those awkwardnesses of feeling nervous to go to school on the first day of school. Like, they don't have that anymore. And it's sad, but there's a book, what is it? The Judy Blume book, Just As Long As We're Together, where it's these these two girls and they're best friends, and the parents are getting divorced, and the new girl comes, and there's sort of like, is there room for all three of them in the friendship? Again, kids today would be like, this is so stupid. This is so boring. Who cares? But to a young Amy Eckert, that book was everything.
That's why I'm like, I really wish that this movie actually worked as well as it clearly intended, because again, like, it's not bad. Like, it's a very watchable movie. I just think it has ambitions that it might not quite reach at times, but I think performance wise, I think it's a great ensemble personally. I think
I
it's
had
great.
some tears in my eyes at the end. I'm not going to lie. It
Yeah,
definitely hit me in the
absolutely.
feels. I will also say that, I mean, Kathy Bates, yes, I'm on the record. She's perfection and everything.
Yes,
I could also see Glenn Close playing that part, though.
easily. Yeah.
Right? Like, am I wrong
Yep.
here? Like,
Totally. Yeah.
easily could have played that part.
Mm-hmm.
And she's magnificent.
Yes. I think Glenn is really good in this. I think it's a sort of a newer spin on the kind of uptight, waspy characters she's played in the past. Like,
Exactly.
she has such good intentions and she really does mean well, but she kind of struggles to fully connect with Gilly, I think, in a way that she really hopes for. And I think what goes unsaid a little bit in Glenn's performance is that she really feels a lot of guilt over her relationship with her daughter kind of going sour. And we come to understand that she and Courtney, her daughter, are not on speaking terms really and have had a falling out in the past. And now Gilly has arrived. And so, she never knew that Courtney had even had a child. So this feels like a kind of exciting new opportunity to maybe right the wrongs of the past in a way of having the kind of relationship with her granddaughter that she ultimately failed to really maintain with her daughter. And I think there's a kind of unspoken quality to that Glenn really inhabits quite well
She
and quite moving.
she definitely did, because that role could have been very two-dimensional. Oh, the rich blonde wasp grandma sweeps in and just saves, like, waves her magic I'm a rich grandma wand and I'm going to rescue you.
Right.
What I really loved is how protective that she was. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And also, in reality, the thing that hit me is when kids make accusations like that and they don't realize the consequences of this. And
Right.
I had my daughter once went to school and she had hit her head, she like banged her face or something, and she had a little bit of a bruise under her eye. And
Mm.
the teacher asked me about it, and I was like, "What? You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea how she got this." And I got DSS called on me,
Oh my
and
God.
it is very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was fine, obviously, but that hit where it's like if someone had made, and I actually was happy that the school did that, because I was like, they're looking after my daughter. My daughter is
Yeah.
nonverbal. She's highly vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have them take care of her than just not. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, I'm a horrible mother. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's when she realizes, and I really liked the actor who played the social worker,
Mm-hmm. Billy Magnuson.
who really laid into her and was like, you don't realize that there are consequences of your actions, like, little girl, like, you
Yeah.
need to wake up and get it together.
Right. That part to me was very well captured and well drawn from real life, at least.
And it's like I said, when the person be like, oh, hey, we just finished a case on you, I was like, wait, what?
That
When
must
can
have
I
been
come to your
really
house? And
scary,
you're like,
honestly. Yeah.
it really, really was. And she had gone to the school. She had talked to my son,
Mm.
who was like, and by the way, on the record, my son is hilarious, because she was like, the social worker was totally like enamored with my son. She's like, so, when your mother disciplines Elena, he's like, my mom doesn't discipline Elena. Elena pretty much gets whatever she wants. And she was like, okay.
Yeah.
But stuff like that happens. I have a
Yeah.
friend who's a gay couple, and they had foster kids, and they had the neighbors who didn't think that they should be allowed to adopt foster kids. And it's very, very scary. And the best thing that the caseworker did is when she came over, she's like, first of all, I have absolutely no concerns.
Yeah. That's good.
She was
Yeah.
like, I couldn't even tell what eye they were talking about with the little thing. But
Mm-hmm.
it really, it hits hard. And that's why this movie especially hit hard on that.
Yeah.
When she's writing the letter, I was like, oh my God.
Oh, God.
And
I know.
the
You
people
know where this is
coming
going,
the people coming in and out of the room. And it's like, of course they're going to investigate it, as they should.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, another thing that was kind of funny is I know I'm like telling all these stories. My son had a little patch of ringworm on the back of his neck,
Oh no.
and which annoying, but whatever. So we had gotten cream and taken him to the doctor and stuff, but his dad was like, don't talk to anybody about this, because we didn't want to be like, hey, I've got a fungal infection or whatever. So my son comes home from school. He's like, oh, the school counselor called on me today, and oh, we had a really nice talk and stuff. And then I was like, that sounds a little weird. His teacher called me a week later about something completely different. Like, oh, by the way, why did William said the counselor? She's like, well, I didn't want to ask, but she goes, I noticed he had a mark on the back of his neck. And she said, William, how did you get the mark on the back of your neck? And he told the teacher, my dad told me not to talk about it. And I was like,
God.
Ugh. And I was like, geez, Louise. So I thought, of course. But she's like, the counselor talked to him and he was just like, oh, so what's going on? And he's, and he's talking about his like projects that he's doing with Boy Scouts and all that stuff. And then they realized it was nothing. But at the same time, right. My dad told me not to talk about the mark on the back of my neck. I was like,
yeah.
But again, I could just be grateful that there are teachers who are just wanting to make sure they're safe. And that's how I took it. Because these people I know, they adore my kids. But it was just like, oh, God, really?
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think to bring it back to the film, like, I think it does capture that very odd sort of like tension, I guess, between this girl who is very precocious in her way, but also very manipulative, making these accusations or saying these things, and like, how does the adults sort of handle that within that? Like, the stuff with Octavia Spencer is really interesting as well, because Miss Harris, the whole stuff with like her writing a letter that is very racial, we'll say, to put it mildly, just very racist ultimately, because it's like, they say black is beautiful, but the best I can figure is anybody saying that looks awfully like and then a blank space was left. And she's like, I'm assuming for me to finish it. I'm curious what we think of that aspect of this as well, because that took me out.
It is. And it's just, as a teacher, it's so hard when you're dealing with students like that. And I mean, I just finished my 22nd year of teaching, and I've had kids say stuff like that to my face. Yeah, I'm closer to the end, which is weird. I don't feel old enough yet, but how you do constantly have to stop and not take it personally.
Right.
And it's really hard because the thing that middle schoolers are best at is figuring out people's weaknesses. John Mulaney does a whole bit about this. Like, they will absolutely be like, oh, nice receding hairline. And you're like, just whatever. And then you go and you cry. Like, but no, I had a girl write an entire essay on what a terrible teacher I am. Like, I have a teacher, but it was like written in the third person, so it wasn't like directed at me, but it was like, I have a teacher who thinks she's all that. I was like, yes, I think I'm all that.
It's true.
Exactly. I am all that. I do think I'm funny and awesome and big and bad, but it's sad. You have to you really have to have a thick skin. Teaching is not for the weak.
Yeah.
And teaching youth with lots of anger.
Yeah.
Because she's clearly an angry kid. And again, one thing, and I don't know if it's in the book or not, is other things that have happened to her.
Yeah.
That would make her the way that she is. Because there's clearly more than just she never knew her mother. She's been in and out. She also is and the fact that she's very intentional. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is no accident, what she's doing. She knows she's poking the bear in many cases. And all this stuff at school, I think, is quite well captured as well, in terms of like the way she just acts out and just like straight up stealing a basketball from a bunch of boys who are playing, or or sassing back at her teacher, Octavia Spencer, who's like, don't want to be called Galadriel, which, by the way, is a beautiful name. I would love to be called Galadriel.
Like, I want a cool name like that, Amy. Come on.
Yeah, no offense to like any Gillies out there, but I do not want to be known as Gilly.
Yes.
I like Amy. Amy is a good name, for the
It is
record.
a good name.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
was never made fun of because of my name. I can imagine
good.
Galadriel would get you a little like, what?
Yeah, but
But
it's
of course,
beautiful.
I would also be the teacher on the first day of school who's like, oh, that's from Tolkien.
Yes, yes,
That's
yep,
me.
totally.
That is me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a student whose
Listen.
last name was Cervantes, and I was like, oh my God,
Oh
I'm just a
my.
brilliant Spanish writer. You're so lucky to have that name. And they were like,
Girl,
okay.
what? Yeah. Yeah. But like Galadriel, I would love to be associated with Kate Blanchett. I mean, like,
I
come on.
know, right?
Anyway, yes. But I do think it is clear watching her from early on, it's that like a lot of what she's doing is pushing others away before they have the chance to kind of push her in a sense. That's the
Mhm.
sense I get from her performance as well. But, she does also use her bullying powers for good at times, like when she does defend her foster brother from bullies. I love the scene where there's this bunch of boys who are picking on him, and he calls this kid with big ears Dumbo and like Ears McGee and just keeps going in on him. It's very funny.
It is. And it's also the trauma of knowing that I can't imagine
Yeah.
knowing that your parents are out there and they just don't want you.
Yeah.
And that's something else
Brutal.
that society doesn't talk about.
Certainly, films rarely talk about too.
That might be why escapist literature is so popular because
Yeah.
who wants to deal with reality? Reality's
Yeah. Especially now.
bites.
Reality bites. Yes.
It is, and that anger, and that's another thing
Yeah.
that they always say as teachers, you never know where a kid is coming from, and then you meet the parents, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here
It
we
all
go.
connects. Yes.
Like a parent who literally says all kids talk back to adults, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, no.
I never did
And
that. I was a very good boy. Thank you very
of
much.
course you were. Exactly. My mother never. I enjoyed having a
Never.
face. I didn't want it beaten off my
That
head.
part. That part. Yes. So anyway, she gets a postcard at one point from her mother from San Francisco, and we get this weird little fantasy sequence at one point of like her mother finally taking her home. Like they literally like roll out a red carpet,
They're
like
wearing matching gowns.
yes, with the glamorous Julia Stiles here, inviting her into her limo, which I thought was very goofy. But it did remind me of the you've seen Precious. I think we've talked about
Yes.
Precious. It reminded me of the fantasy
Yes.
sequences in Precious, where she kind of dreams of being like a glamorous movie star, That's kind of what I was feeling of like just I have this idea in my mind of who my mother is, and the idea is that like she is some like unattainable sort of star in a sense, who maybe the reason she doesn't have time for me is because she's busy being like this glamorous woman or something like that. Like that feels like a very kid-like thing to do to kind of like associate in that way to make
It
it
really
easier for
does.
her, to cope with
And that
that.
one day we're going to be together.
Yes. Yep.
One day we're going to be together because she wants
Mm-hmm.
me. And just having to deal with that is unbearable.
Yeah.
And then, especially when you have to be with someone so normal, like Kathy Bates' character in that movie. I'm saying the character, not Kathy Bates. Kathy, I love you. You're plenty glamorous for me.
Of course. Yes.
But that it would be hard, and that she's
Yeah.
just trying to be tough and not and putting on that pretense like nothing hurts me. I'm tough. I'm not brokenhearted and suffering.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating. And there's a whole sequence too where I think Kathy is really excellent when there's the whole thing of Gilly has written the letter, and also she wants to go off in this cable car, but she gets caught and is forced to come back. And there's that scene where she's back at home and Kathy Bates' character is really feeling guilt and like all these different emotions over her escaping and her being such a troubled kid and all these things. Like Kathy is really like pouring so much into this role that it really surprised me in a way. Like she's really reflecting the kind of woman here who has been through a lot of hardships and has really just, you can sort of feel the experience just kind of exuding out of her of dealing with kids in really difficult times, but she still tries to put on kind of a happy face at the same time to make these kids feel wanted and warm. And it's just like, it gets to a point where I'm like, she's almost too good for this movie in a way. Like, she's really elevating it a lot.
True.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, I was like, when I have a bad day, can she be at my house when I come home, like to
Yeah.
hold
Bake
me
cookies. And yeah.
bake cookies and how very quickly when she uses the R word, how quickly Kathy Bates shuts that down.
Yeah.
Like, do not ever. That kid has been through enough. And the part where Gilly, at the end, when she realizes, when the social worker comes and he's like, you don't understand. You think you know what you did. You don't realize that they might take WE away and put him with another family. And that realization that, she 100% did not think about.
Mm-hmm.
And what a nightmare that would be for her. Just everything. And her performance in that scene is excellent. You feel her regret when she's crying, and she's like, and when she says the line, why would they even listen to me?
Yeah.
I'm nobody. Why would they listen to me? And I was like, I have chills. And
which I think, not to just kind of keep bringing it back to how I don't love the movie, but I think a lot of that is probably just from the original story.
Yeah.
Those feelings. I just, again, like, Kathy is putting in great work here, and the story is what the story is, so it's not going to be, awful, but I think it sort of skates by a little bit at times on the surface in a way, instead of really diving deep enough, but still.
And I do feel like the book probably did. Like I said, with Bridge to Terabithia, if you judge Bridge to Terabithia based on the movie and hadn't read the book, it really, truly, to this day, absolutely holds up, because I've read it several times as an adult too.
Yeah.
But that's due to Katherine Paterson. But Glenn is very, very good in it for such a small part.
Yeah.
She elevates it, and she brings so much more to it than just, I'm the rich grandma who's just going to come in and judge everybody and then take her away.
Yeah, I mean, she shows up around like the 1 hour mark of this 90-minute movie, but really just brings this whole other energy, Glenergy, if you will, and is revealing herself to be your grandmother. Yes, thank you. She brings pie, and it's interesting how she struggles to really even like put into words what to say really to her granddaughter, who she just learned existed, and she's just kind of like stammering through and is like, Courtney, your mother left home. Well, it was a difficult time, and is just like, I'm not doing this very well, am I?
And how hard that would be to do.
Yeah.
Because she's clearly trying to do the right thing. I was afraid that it was going to go in the direction of like rich grandma's going to try to shoehorn her into rich people life and all that. And that wasn't it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that. And I loved when the scene with her and the person at the school, where they're like, we remember your daughter. And she's like, do you? Like, don't go there.
Yes, exactly.
And I was loaded. Like, I see you, Glenn Close. I see you elevating that role.
I do love that scene. Yeah, and especially when whoever that is, like the headmistress, I'm going to say, asks her to spell out her Christian name. And Glenn gets this very like amused tone in her voice. And she's just like, Galad. Am I going too fast for you, dear? Excellent.
I was like, there you are. There she is. And she does it in that very that soft but like slightly menacing.
Yes.
That's the Glenn we love. I love her when she's a sousson menacing.
There we go. Yes. I know. But I think it's such a like surprisingly nuanced performance, even despite being a small role. Like, you can just see in her eyes too, like, there's a slight nervousness of making sure nothing she says to Gilly is going to like set her off or anger her, or like nothing's out of place. And she even delves into how like talking to Gilly, like says about her uncle, which would be Glenn's son, who they lost in the war, There's like a real weight to the way she talks about loss in her life. She also lost her husband. She doesn't have a relationship really with her daughter. It's just these little details and these kind of unspoken moments. But I love also the very proper way she speaks as well, because she is doing a bit of a elevated sort of tone here that is reflecting how like she believes herself to be like a very proper and very respectable person, probably leaning conservative, I would guess, in her worldview, and how her daughter, Gilly's mother, probably rebelled against that, which is
So
what
she's
led to
trying to
their
be very careful.
yeah, which is what led to the estrangement. It's a very smart choice, I think, that Glenn is doing here. And it's all even reflected in the very tasteful, clean decorations all over her house and everything. And
Mhm.
even her earrings and the way she arranges her hair in a bun and the very clean pantsuits. Like, it's a very specific vibe that just says a lot, which I love.
She's amazing. And that scene, that brief scene with Julie Stiles. First of all, Julie Stiles, bravo.
Bravo. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I got it. Like, yep, that's who this person is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see the real, like, that's it. I'm sorry, you're leaving? And just how she's, and yet trying to hold it together. And she's seeing her daughter for the first time in all this time. And she only came for the money. And it's awful. And what she's going to have to tell the daughter. And she knows the daughter's going to be crushed. It's just, you see all of that in a scene that's like a minute long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to set that up for people who haven't seen it, it's like Gilly very gradually is adjusting to her new life with her grandmother, but then she just Noni decides to maybe bring Courtney in to have them actually meet, and they meet at the airport, and it's this very awkward moment because it comes out that Courtney only is going to stay for 2 days, and when Glenn's character says, like, when I sent you the money, the way that registers on Gilly's face is like, oh, I see what's happening here. That she's basically bribing her own daughter to come to town and spend a little bit of time with her daughter. It's like almost like this sort of requisite check-in that isn't really meaningful in any way. And I think Sophie Nélisse really registers the sort of devastation of that quite well. But this is a great scene for Glenn because naturally it leads to a fight between her and her daughter, and the way she gives her that very like stern look on her face and is just like, please just don't search for reasons to fight me. That's, you feel the history there, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so subtle and so real when she's like, you're doing it again. It's just,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
For anyone who's ever had an argument with their mother, that scene is a lot.
Yep.
And not over the top. And I think it was very brave of Paterson to not make it like, now they're this happy family.
Yeah.
Because that would absolutely, that is so real.
Yeah, I know. It's brutal.
The myth that the parents eventually going to change because deep down they just love their kid. And the fact that that is absolutely not always the case is so sad.
Yeah, it really is. I also found this interview with Julia Stiles, actually, who talked about this particular scene that I wanted to highlight just because she mentioned Glenn, so I thought it was important to mention.
Anytime anyone mentions Glenn, it's important to mention.
Yes. So Julia said that the director gave Glenn this direction to give me the coldest, meanest stare. And she looked at me and Dangerous Liaisons flashed through my memory and I just got chills.
How much did you like that? How much did you love
That's
that?
why I'm even mentioning it. Yeah.
Yes!
It's just like, oh my God. Can you imagine Glenn Close giving you that like Dangerous Liaison stare?
Number two, no, cruelty. It has a much nobler ring to it. I may have watched that movie a few times.
Maybe.
I might be able to drop some lines off the top of my head, apropos of nothing.
War.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, it's a great scene, but I do think by the end, the film kind of does a little bit of a disservice by sort of rushing through her transition to her new life with her grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
because we've already spent so much time with Kathy Bates and getting us attached to that family and everything, and then gives us not all that much with Glenn in that relationship. And so by the time like Gilly goes back to that house, the Trotter house, you know, Kathy Bates is giving her this long pep talk about how, no, like, your grandmother is your real family, essentially. Like, this isn't really her home anymore, in a sense. You know, Kathy is very moving in that scene, but it is sort of unsatisfying in the end that she's kind of forced away from Trotter, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how the book maybe does this differently. I don't know if you can speak to that, but
According to the summary that I read, which
Mm.
people at home, I try to read the books. I've read so many books. I've
It's
read The
okay.
Last Picture Show. I've read the book to
I believe
cycle.
you.
Yeah, all of them.
Yes, it's okay.
This one I didn't get a chance to, but apparently the book ends with her on the phone crying to Trotter, and Trotter being like, "You're in your home now, and that's where you need to
Mm.
be."
Mm-hmm.
There's not this like montage of them like celebrating holidays together and everything.
Wow. Hmm.
I did love the thing that might have been Hollywood, but I did love is when she was at Trotter's house that Glenn shows up.
Yeah.
Like I will always be here for you.
Right.
And I thought, beautiful touch, but that seems like Hollywood ending. I have to read the book.
Very that. Yeah, like we do get that scene and the end ultimately with like these little home movies of Gilly returning to Trotter for the holidays, and yeah, Glenn gets to come along too, I guess, because they're
Because
package
she's
deal now.
Glenn.
Yeah. Yes. Personally, I was sort of left unsatisfied by the end. I'm just like, well, I wish we could just kind of stay at the Kathy Bates home. Like, it seems like we had better times there, and I don't know.
True.
Like, I don't know what could have been done to maybe help to flesh things out a little more and give us a little more time to make it truly feel like Glenn's home is her real home.
Yeah.
But by the end, I was kind of like, oh, okay.
And they
It's
live
still-
on opposite sides of the country, don't they?
Yeah. Yes.
So it was
So-
like,
It's tough.
how often are they
Yeah.
just flying into town? That's a lot.
Every major holiday, apparently, based on the montage.
Exactly.
Yeah. Frequent flyer miles. I don't know. Glenn seems rich, so
She does.
it's fine.
She plays rich people very well.
She really does, in a scary way.
Like you and I both agreed, she absolutely could have killed it as Trotter as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, she has that warmth and that, not to invoke this movie, I'm sorry, but like a little bit of the hillbilly elegy thing.
Yes!
Of,
Yes!
You know what I mean? Right? Like she easily
I was
could have
thinking
used
that in the movie where she's got the nails and it's the horror
Not the
movie that
Deliverance.
she does. Yes!
Not the Deliverance. Oh, God.
I was like, if she could play that grandma with the nails
Yeah,
and the cigarettes.
exactly. She could do anything. Yeah. So, did you have any other...
You didn't need to say it, but it's true.
Yeah, I know. But did you have any other observations that we didn't really get to on the movie?
Not really. It's hard to get into a lot of depth with this one. This is not the big chill. This is
That's not quite.
The big chill. This is not.
No.
But it is I will say, it's a charming movie.
It is.
It's
Has its
short.
faults, but
Had
yeah.
they made it longer, it
Yeah.
would be a little less palatable. But
Mhm.
the performances are the reason to see the movie.
I totally agree.
I will definitely say I will watch Kathy Bates in anything she is in. Anything she's in. And
Yep.
Glenn, also, just Hillbilly Elegy. Saw it. Same with Amy Adams. I will watch you.
Yeah.
Because these are actresses who never act too good to put effort in.
Yeah.
And
very well said.
that is really why they've had the longevity that they have had as actresses. They do not phone it in.
Right.
They treat everything like the highest art, and they really respect these characters and bring them so much dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no vanity in it. And it's beautiful. It really is. And by the end of this movie, I wanted to just hug both of them.
Yes, they can be our new mommies.
And on Kathy Bates, I also rewatched Fried Green Tomatoes, and
Oh boy,
God,
I know.
Kathy Bates, Kathy Bates.
That whole era with the Misery to that to Dolores Claiborne, it's just, my God, she can truly do anything. Yeah,
I have chills. I don't know why. I get emotional
yeah,
about these women
it's
because
okay. These
like
are,
they treat everything.
they do.
And you did the
Glenn,
Simpsons
yeah,
episode, and
she's
it was one
incredible
of
in
the
that.
most emotional
Yeah.
television episodes I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Her impact.
I
Yes.
just
Listen, she was in like 2.5 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy, Glenn, and she still delivers a full complex character with that extremely limited screen time that is full of exposition. And I'm just like, this is a military leader who I will follow into battle. You know? So, anyway,
and just they just prove it again and again, and I
they do.
absolutely love it. I love that we live in a time where women
Mm.
have these amazing careers and that they are playing. It's no longer, what is it, babe district attorney and driving Miss Daisy, to quote
Yes.
another great movie full of actresses that we love. But that they're doing these interesting work, and it's not, oh well, that's not good, and oh, they're just after an Oscar. Really?
Mm-hmm.
They're not.
No.
We should just be giving them anyway.
Yes. So calm down. Um,
Shut
actually,
up, everyone.
yes. Actually, a little bit while we're on that, I did want to get your thoughts on Glenn getting an honorary Oscar this year. What do you think of that?
My first go-to is always, I wish that they could have won a competitive Oscar.
Yeah, I know. I
That
know.
being said, that being said, Deborah Carr rhymes with star.
Mm-hmm.
Peter
Yeah,
O'Toole, she is in good company.
she is. And
She is in good company.
Glenn did give Deborah Carr her honorary Oscar. So it all comes full circle.
It does. And I
I
hope
love
that,
that.
like Peter O'Toole with the always a bridesmaid, never a bride, my foot, that she's going to
Yeah.
have some epic speech and she's going to look
Oh, she's gonna,
amazing.
yeah, she's
And
gonna, her love of costumes, she is gonna come out in a full, beautiful regalia, and it's gonna be
oh,
great.
and I'm gonna be following you on every social media because I want to hear your thoughts of how she looked on the red carpet.
Full recap,
And
yes.
you know that every time she stopped on the red carpet, she's just going to be dripping with witty,
Oh, yes.
quotable quips, and her speech is going to be amazing. And,
Mm-hmm. I am so looking forward to seeing that speech, and I said it on another episode, but her holding an Oscar, I'm going to make my phone background. It's
and all of
necessary.
your profile pictures.
All of them, yes. Profile pictures, banners,
Yep.
everything. Yes, it's
Her
going to be a
acceptance
lot.
speech is going to be your ringtone.
Yes. We joke, but like it's probably not that far off. Anyway,
It's in this case, yes, it's absolutely true.
yeah,
But when I think
yeah.
of, but again, my first thing is always like, I wish they could have won competitively. But you know what?
Sometimes
This
they do after
way,
winning honorary,
but
like
this
Spike
way,
Lee and
her
Paul Newman.
winning, if anyone deserves that moment, it is her. And just
There
like
you
it
go.
was Peter O'Toole, who absolutely, and
Mm-hmm.
Deborah Carr.
Yep.
So
Well said.
yeah, no,
Yep.
she deserves a whole segment of like, Glenn, this is why we love you.
I can't get too excited about this. It's so far away. But anyway, yes, let's
Yes.
get to back into Great Gilly Hopkins and talk about the release of this movie. So the film premiered at the Schlingel International Film Festival in Germany. Not sure why. On October 6th,
Hey,
2015.
it's a choice.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
It's a place that is a film festival, apparently.
Technically, yes. Lionsgate then acquired the rights to distribute it and gave it a theatrical release a year later on October 7th, 2016. Very limited release. Reviews were mixed, but mostly positive, with a lot of praise for the performances by Sophie, Nélisse, Kathy Bates, and Glenn Close, and criticism for it feeling a little bit hokey and old-fashioned and sort of Disney movie-ish. But did not get any major nominations, of course. It did get like a something from the Heartfelt Film Festival or something
That sounds
award
appropriate.
for a truly moving picture. So there's that, I
That
guess.
sounds like
But
an award I would give.
yeah,
It
that sounds
really
like
moves me.
the Amy Thomasson award.
Yes.
Yes, yes. But it was also released on video on demand on the exact same day it was released in theaters. So yeah, it was mostly like a video, like a VOD play, more than a theatrical thing. Any brief thoughts we have on like why it was decently received, but didn't really, set the world on fire?
I agree. Sadly, the way it's handled is very old fashioned.
Yeah.
Yet
Yeah.
those problems are not. And I don't know what I would have done. I would have, like I said, I would have definitely had it done in the 70s. It's sad that this caliber of a film of this great book did not come out in 1979. You know what I'm saying? Like if they had done this kind of treatment of a book, because did it maybe win a Newbery as well? I mean, Katherine, I mean, she did Jacob Have I Loved, Bridge to Terabithia. It would have had a much bigger audience because more people were actually reading the book. And it was such a successful book. To do it that much later, you're not going to get that core audience. Like, I bet with Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, most of the people seeing that movie were people who read it when they were 13. A lot of moms.
Mostly mothers with their young daughters.
With their young daughters. The daughters probably haven't read the book, but the mothers was like, oh my God, this was such a formative book in my youth. This one is definitely not as widely read.
No.
But had they had it take place in the 70s, it would have been more successful. Had they made that, had they gotten A-listers to make a version of it in like 1979.
Yeah, or the 80s. I feel like it would have been a great time for a movie like this. It would
have been, or they could have done an amazing movie of the week, because that was in the days of like Roots and the Thornbirds and all of that. You easily could have done something like that.
Yeah.
Man, if only I'd been of age at that time to make sure this happened.
Yes, I know. I think it was like an amiable enough movie, but not one that I could even see people recommending right away because maybe of the prickly nature of the main character in some ways. But it's just, it feels like it was kind of tossed off as a video on demand release more than given a real treatment in any way. So I don't think it really even had the chance to be widely seen.
No.
So
no, not at all.
It's tricky. But worth it for the performances, as we said.
And it is very sweet. It's not, I did actually enjoy it. This wasn't like Avatar where I wanted to like slit my wrists.
Not Avatar.
Because it was so terrible. Because it was
Did not expect Avatar to come up on this discussion, but there we are. All right. So don't have anything else there. So we'll get to our last segment where we're going to rate Glenn's performance on a very specific scale. So thinking about her performance in The Great Gilly Hopkins, would you say she's ready for her close-up? Is it low Glennergy? Is it close but no cigar? Or we now have our new secret categories that we did not have when we first podcasted about this. Serving in silence, which is to say delivering a great supporting performance, or Glenniscent, meaning she's good but the project not so much.
I would say the serving in a supporting role.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say she's the only good thing about the movie, because she's also got, like, I mean, Octavia Butler does amazing work as well. It's not one of her greats. You don't have to see it. Like, you'll be okay if you miss this one. However, if you're a completist, you're going to enjoy this more than you think you will.
There you go. Yeah, I think I generally agree. I think this is a serving in silence moment for Glenn.
Yes, that's it. Serving in silence.
Yes. I think she serves the story well. She provides a very interesting wrinkle into everything, and she works well in concert with the rest of the film. So this is not like a Glenniscent situation where I'm like, well, at least Glenn is here to help prop things up. We do have Kathy Bates. We do have Sophie Nélisse. We do have a foundation that is strong with the book. I'm just not as big on this interpretation, I guess, but still, it's solid work from some great actresses. We have Octavia Spencer as well. So yeah, it's decent, but not setting the world on fire.
Because I will say I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Hillbilly Elegy.
Well, certainly. That's not setting the bar
which
that high.
she got
but
an Oscar for, which she was nominated for an Oscar for.
Yeah, I know.
But this movie, absolutely. This is much better.
Much better. Yeah.
And not just even because of my political opinions. Yes, I actually read that book when it came out.
Well.
Wish I could go back to those tranquil days where that's all I knew.
I know, honestly. I'm sure Glenn feels the same way, honestly.
Yes, but no, this is not...
Yeah.
This isn't Fatal Attraction, folks.
Not quite Dangerous Liaisons, but it's okay.
No.
Yeah. Still fine work.
But she has that stare.
She has that Glenn
I'm going to go back and rewatch that scene because I want to watch her do the stare.
Yes, I know. Amy, thank you so much for joining me. This was so fun.
It was. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good summer.
I am, yes, and I hope you are as well.
I am. Good times.
Where can people find more of you on the internet?
They can find me on InSession Films. Very soon will be uploaded 2 interviews I did, one with the director of Julian and one with the director of Romeria.
Wow.
They both nominated for awards, so that was very exciting.
Look at you. I'm so proud. So proud.
I'm making my way. I will say it was kind of exciting getting an email saying, well, the interviews are going to be in this town in France, so you can come in and do the interview there. But if you're not going to be in town, we can always do it via Zoom. And I thought, you know what? I love so much that I'm now in the part of my life where I'm getting emails about like, hey, if you're in town in France, just come on by. We'll just do the interview here. And I had to be like, alas, I'm not going to be in France that weekend.
not that weekend. You know.
That weekend. So let's do it soon. But I did get a little thrill being
I love it.
Less than a year ago, I was like, I think I want to start doing interviews. And now I'm like, oh, this woman won an Emmy Award for her work on the Nickelodeon news show with Linda Ellerby. How cool is that? That's kind of neat.
Yes.
So it is exciting.
Go check out Amy's interviews. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening. You can find me at Kevin_Jacobsen on Twitter and Instagram. Just Kevin Jacobsen, no underscore on Blue Sky. You can listen to my Oscar-themed podcast, And the Runner-Up Is, for coverage of every single Best Actress race. That's And the Runner-Up Is on all platforms. And to keep up with the world according to Glenn on social, follow the Glenn Pod. You can also go to my Patreon, patreon.com/andtherunnerup is, for early access to these episodes and bonus episodes of And the Runner-Up Is, such as A Woman Robbed, and also How Did They Win, the classic series with me, Amy, and Tom O'Brien, where we talked about categories of the past and figured out how the hell certain people won. And so please, highly recommend listening to that. Rate, review, and follow The World According to Glenn on all platforms. And with that, I'll bid you all adieu.